Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in to the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. This is not Hunt Palmer. Taylor Sharp sitting in for a vacationing Hunt Palmer. Not really sure where Hunt is today. I talked to him yesterday, and all he said was, I'm going to be golfing during my normal show slot. So my guy hard at work up there in Shreveport, probably visiting a little bit of family for Memorial Day weekend coming up as well. Guys, it is colder than normal in this studio today. Although I must say, normally on the other side, it's a lot warmer over here. I think it's all the light shining down on this table, but nonetheless, we're going to power through it. Look, want to start today's show by telling you what we kind of got on tap for you. In about 15 minutes or so, we're going to talk to Brody Miller, but it's not going to be football. Brody actually wrote a pretty in-depth feature on Dylan Crews. We're going to talk to him, talk about maybe why he decided to do that, and he'll give us a side of Dylan Crews that we don't always see on the baseball diamond. Then we will, of course, talk some LSU football. Top of the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to go out to Saints OTAs. We're going to talk to my guy, Mr. Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints, and he's going to give us a little update from Saints OTAs. Then at 2:30, we're going to join Mark Etheridge at the ballpark out there in Hoover, Alabama. He's going to talk to us about possible seeding for the NCAA tournament, Tigers' chances in the postseason, all of that. But I do want to start, well, kind of where everybody's mind is, and that's on this LSU baseball team. We've seen them play 2 SEC tournament games. They're 1-1. There's been some good. There's been some bad. The bad, this team still strikes out a lot more than you would like them to. As a matter of fact, they're just looking at too many pitches. It's not so much of a swing and miss thing. They're not seeing the pitches well, and it's not just a Dylan Crews in a slump or a Tommy White. It's basically the whole lineup. They're also committing a little bit of base running errors that you kind of didn't see earlier in the season. Now, look, when we remember when they lost those 2 straight SEC series, that was an issue there as well. That kind of creeped in again last night. I was actually running the board for Chris Blair and watching the game. A couple things were a little bit puzzling to me, but there was some good as well. Trey Morgan has been really good in both of these SEC tournament games. You're going to need that from a guy like him. And Hayden Travinski. Hayden Travinski went 4 for 4 last night in a game where LSU struggled to kind of manufacture some runs. He went 4 for 4. LSU actually out-hit Arkansas last night. Arkansas only had, I believe it was 6 hits, all singles, got 5 runs out of it. So LSU almost doubled them. The problem was, again, the base running errors. You couldn't manufacture runs. You couldn't get those base runners to home to score those runs. Also, a thing that it's not really concerning to me. It was actually more of a bright spot if you like to be glass half full like I do and spin it the right way. Paul Skeens struggled, and you still almost won the game and probably should have won the game if it wasn't for that batter interference called there on, catcher interference called. And, they scored 3 runs due to that error there by Alex Milazzo. And that was the difference in the game. They went up 5-2 at that point. LSU had to claw their way back into it. Never really could get much going after that. This is kind of a weird take on things, but I'm actually more confident in this team's postseason chances after the 2 games we've seen in the SEC tournament. And I know that may sound a little weird, but look, if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago if LSU would have won the national title, I would have said no. Because the same type of teams win the World Series every year. We see the same thing in March Madness. When you're watching the NCAA March Madness tournaments, what kind of teams win every year? It's the teams with the senior guards. You got that leadership. Most of your starting 5 is upperclassmen. Always one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. A team that plays great defense. That way, if the shots aren't falling for you, you still keep yourself in the game. We see that a lot in the College World Series as well. You got to have 2, more than likely even 3 pretty solid starters, and you have that one stud, that closer coming out of the bullpen that you can go to if you get into a jam late in the game. Until recently, it didn't really look like LSU had that. I mean, you got Paul Skeens, who's a stud. I'm not worried about Paul Skeens' struggles last night at all. This is basically the first bad game he's had because he only has 2 losses on the year. The first loss, though, it was that rain delay at the South Carolina game where he couldn't come back in the game. He was pitching really well. LSU wound up dropping that game that Skeens started. So this is really his first bad performance of the year. He's not going to have that again. But what I've liked, the bullpen pitching has been a lot better. Because, again, other than Skeens and sometimes Floyd, you never knew what you were going to get from the pitching staff. And sometimes Floyd's up here playing really well. Sometimes he's shaky. So it's really, you have to win when Paul Skeens is on the mound. The bullpen's been really good. And do they finally have a third starter? Granted, Thatcher Hurd, I don't think he was great in the game against South Carolina, but I thought he was good. I thought it was something that he could potentially build upon. Also, you've played 2 full baseball games. You've only used 4 pitchers because Nate Ackenhausen came in and he shut the door on South Carolina on our game on Wednesday. And then last night, Riley Cooper coming in a game, again, where Skeens was struggling. He strikes out 7 batters. You look at the stat line after the game. If you would have told me Skeens and Cooper are throwing, one of them's going to throw 3 strikeouts, the other's going to have 7 strikeouts, every single one of you would have placed money that Paul Skeens would have 7 strikeouts. Not the case, though. And when you look back at last season, bullpen was even shakier under year 1 of Jay Johnson than it is now, but that kind of solid coming out of the bullpen as the season went along was a Riley Cooper. If he could get back into postseason form that we saw last year with the talent that he has around him, then this bullpen could be really good. They could maybe have some reliable arms coming out of that bullpen. So I kind of took away a positive from their last night's game. Also, is Dylan Cruz finally out of his slump? Now, I know he went 1 for 4 last night, but he hit .500 against South Carolina, batting 2 for 4. And yeah, he only got 1 hit last night. It was a big one, though. It was in the top of the 9th inning when you had to have it. He hit a solo shot to cut LSU's deficit to just 1 run, 5 to 4. Now the guys behind him, Tommy White, they couldn't capitalize. But Dylan Cruz, he came up with a clutch hit when you needed it the most, like he's done all year long. He put you in position to win that game. So it's so funny to say. You look at Dylan Cruz, he's still batting like .420 on the year. It's just he was hovering at 500, even more than 500 the majority of the season. So is he really in a slump? No, he's not. I mean, he's not absolutely crushing the ball every time he gets up to the plate like he was earlier this year, but he is still the best player in college baseball. He's still likely going to be the number 1 pick in this year's MLB draft. He's going to be fine. Something that did concern me a little bit, though, was Josh Pearson. You put Pearson in that lineup, and last year down the stretch, Josh Pearson led off for this team as a true freshman. He's been kind of shaky this year. You'll get a good outing from him, a bad outing from him. Yesterday was a bad one. He went hitless. He didn't really put the ball in play at all for much of the night. I was a little disappointed in that. He actually got subbed in later in the game. Jay Johnson put in Paxton Kling instead of Josh Pearson. Now, Kling didn't do much either, but will we see Kling over Pearson going forward? Who knows? That's something we're going to have to wait to find out. But again, if you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have said this team's pitching's not good enough, especially after they suffered all the injuries. Look, your bats aren't always going to be there. That's why you need the pitching, and your studs aren't always going to be otherworldly. I think last night we actually found out Paul Skeens is, in fact, human. He is not some robot or cyborg. He is human. He can have bad games. It's just we haven't seen it at all this year. But you get a bad game from your stud, the guy that you've leaned on all year long, and what happens? You still almost win the game without a catcher's interference call against Alex Milazzo. That might take away 2 runs. You could win the game then. Your bats did just enough. And again, your bullpen arms. Wednesday with Nate Ackenhausen. Yesterday with a guy like a Riley Cooper. I was really excited. Look, I understand it was a loss, but if this team can get going and some of these guys in the bullpen, they can maybe peak at the right time, you could make a run at this thing. I actually feel a lot more confident now than I did going into this SEC tournament. All right, look, we're going to cut this first segment a little bit short, but we're going to stick with the baseball talk coming up in about 5 minutes or so. We're going to go to Brody Miller from The Athletic. He wrote a really interesting feature on Dylan Cruz. It's weird coming from Brody. He's typically a football-only type of guy, but he dove into the baseball section to take a deeper dive into LSU's brightest star. We'll find out why he did it, what he learned, and we'll show you a different side of Dylan Cruz. That's coming up here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is on Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has $15,000 off plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on all new 22 Ford F-150 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. I'm out on vacation. Musso in the big chair. Terrio in as well. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back to the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for a vacationing Hunt Palmer. He decided to bail on Memorial Day weekend a little bit early. Nice 4-day weekend for my guy. Look, we're sticking with the baseball talk. We're going to kind of a more unusual interview, a unique one here. We're going to bring in Brody Miller from The Athletic. Brody, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. Unique. What are we making unique about it?
Well, anytime we see Brody Miller in The Athletic pop up, we think it's going to be some awesome story about the LSU football team. But this one, you actually went the baseball route, going Dylan Cruz. Look, we'll start right there. You not being your traditional baseball guy, what made you want to do a feature on Dylan Cruz?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you start with the fact that, he is the expected number one pick. And, as somebody who I don't cover baseball like I used to, my first few years on the beat when I was there every day. But anyone who's been in Baton Rouge just knows he is probably the biggest star athlete, other than maybe, I don't know, Angel Reese. He is the biggest star athlete on campus. He is this is one of the best baseball programs in college baseball history, and he is doing things that nobody has ever done in Baton Rouge. And I think it's just kind of, so much of it was, how do you capture that, right? How do you figure out how to, what that story is? Because I think anyone would tell you Dylan Cruz is a pretty just ho-hum, casual, good guy. It's not like he's got some fascinating story. And I think what we wanted to do was just how can we paint a picture of just how special this guy is to watch play baseball, how rare this is. So we settled on, hey, let's not try to do the classic feature route. Let's just go to a weekend and just watch this dude play baseball.
Yeah, look, we all know about Dylan Cruz, the player. For people who haven't met him, what is Dylan Cruz, the man, like?
Yeah, he's fascinating because he's like anyone who's watched him play, right? You see this he looks like a Florida man, right? He has the scraggly hair and the bushy, and the bushy beard, and just kind of has this very casual, chill, Florida guy quality. So I think it's easy to look at that and just kind of look at him and think he's not exactly that cerebral, or that he's just kind of like this go with the flow baseball guy. And he is that to some extent, but he's actually, a very thoughtful. I think you start with the fact that it's been well documented how much he does with special needs. I mean, he does extensive work bringing families in every weekend with special needs, and always making the extra effort to talk to people. But even more than that, I think learning that he is just this unbelievably hard worker under that casual surface, and then he is somebody who, puts extreme thought into mindfulness on a baseball field. He works with Jay Johnson on that a lot too, but breathing and all these techniques to make sure he is unbelievably present in a moment, which is kind of his greatest strength, is that he is so calm and present in most moments. So yeah, he's a fascinating guy in that sense. He's this weird mix of California, but obviously Florida, cool, but also very smart and focused more than people might realize.
Speaking of Dylan Cruz, and you perfectly segued into my next question, so thanks for that. You talked about his humility and how down to earth he is. Something when I was reading your feature on him, you started out right at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about the Nerds clusters and how that started.
Yes. So the beauty of when I go to a game is that I just have to actually cover the game. So I am just staring at Dylan Cruz pretty much every little interaction he does for 3 days straight, just watching what he does. And I notice it's he just keeps, every time he goes out, he just puts his hand out by that net, by those 2 seats to the left of the dugout, and just someone hands him what looks to be a little snack or something, and then he goes and hits. And there was this one time in the story where the person's name is George Wood, who is pretty involved with LSU athletics overall. He has muscular dystrophy, and him and his family do extensive work in fundraising for muscular dystrophy. I know Clay Moffitt, the former LSU player, used to also do a ton of work with him. So he's been around, but I think Dylan and him have built a good connection. And it was just so funny because there's this one time where he's just George Wood was talking to somebody else and wouldn't notice him, just see his hand out for a minute and a half, being like, "My dude, I can't hit without my clusters." And yeah, so I asked him after, and I guess I thought people knew this, but no, he every at bat, George gives him some Nerds gummy clusters, a little raspberry, strawberry kind of flavor, and it's become a tradition. And he's like, "Yeah, I can't hit without them now." So it's pretty funny, and that was another moment, like you said, of just kind of showing he is this kind of just, I don't know, very likable, humble dude who just, he's just yeah, man, I need my gummy cluster.
Well, you said you thought a lot of people knew that. Look, I'll be honest. It's one of those things where, like, I started reading in your feature. I'm like, I saw a, like, TikTok or short or whatever it was on this, like, 2 months ago and just kind of, like, put it out of my mind. Like, I just forgot about it. It was a video of the guy handing Cruz the gummy clusters. Look, as far as that goes, like, did he just offer it to Cruz one day and he took it and then him and Dylan kind of became buds over it?
It's a good question. I don't know because, like you said, like George Wood's been around the program a while, so he probably knew him already. Yeah, I would love. I didn't get asked that actually, like how the first time came to be. I would assume he just saw him eating candy one day and was like, "Hey, can I have one real quick?" That would be my guess.
Look, as far as Cruz goes, I mean, we know he's a great player. I just talked last segment about how he's likely the number one pick in the upcoming Major League draft. But what's something, doing this feature or talking to him or anybody else that you learned about Cruz that the average person may not know?
Good question. I think some of it is just, I think what we touched on, right? Like we've touched on the kind of humble side and the human side and all that. But I think one thing that did kind of catch me is how dedicated and focused he is. And I know I keep repeating that, but like it is just very easy sometimes when you see that guy who is so casual, who is so just kind of like, oh, shucks, you think he's just raw talent and doesn't put that much work in. And I thought it was really cool to learn how much he credits Jay Johnson for the leap he's taken the last, year and a half. And then in the way that, Dylan Cruz was always an amazing hitter, always had bat speed that nobody can really come close to. But I think what really has jumped the last 2 years is working with Jay Johnson in terms of the one thing everyone credited Jay Johnson when he got hired too was the work he does with hitters, the work he does with approach and plate discipline. And it's fascinating the amount of time they've spent together talking about like the approach and how, they have this image of 7 balls lined up across the plate and ball one, horizontally. And if you imagine balls 1 and 7, you just erase those. You pretend those don't matter. And because those are pitchers' pitches. And then, focusing in on those inside 3 or 4 balls, those are his. But then Johnson would tell you that the difference is Dylan Cruz has become so disciplined because he's also learned that his bat speed is so good that he can wait an extra second longer than most people because his bat speed's so incredible. He can just decide a little second later and drive it to right field or something. So I think it was interesting to learn just, that work that went into getting better, to going from very good to great and all that, and the work in mindfulness. And Jay Johnson's very big on visualization, and Dylan Cruz does a lot of work with visualization now. So I just think that side of why he's not just comfortable being good. He wants to be better.
Look, as far as Cruz goes, earlier you said that Dylan said that he can't hit without his nerds clusters. Now we know that they're likely going to be a top 8 national seed, which means they'll host a regional and super regional. If LSU gets to the College World Series, please tell me somebody's taking that guy to Omaha, right?
That is a fantastic question. Yeah, I think so. I think at this point, Dylan Cruz will make sure, and his family will make sure. I think it's a win-win, especially because they already do all this work with special needs and bringing in, people to games and whatnot. So yeah, I think whether it's Dylan's dad, George, or if it's someone else, they gotta find a way to get him there.
All right, look, this has been great. It was a fascinating feature. I really enjoyed reading it. But Brody, again, you typically dive into football more than baseball. What are you working on right now? Do you have a feature coming out anytime soon? What can we expect next?
I got a few things coming in some work on the LSU's collective and this kind of second iteration of it and kind of where that arms race is at right now. The sit down with Brian Kelly that will turn into a story sooner than later, things like that. Hopefully you can expect.
All right, before I let you go, these next 2 segments, they're going to be about football for me. Before I get you out of here, give me one newcomer that you're excited to watch here this season.
Ooh, good question. I mean, the obvious answer is Omar Speights, just because I think he's the one who steps in and is just, clearly going to be one of the better linebackers in the SEC. I think the one I'll throw out, though, is just to kind of have more fun with it. And Ovie Ogofu's another one who, he will be good. I don't know if I'm, necessarily excited to watch. I want to see Javian Taviano and what he kind of is able to do this year. Maybe not as sexy of one, but, I mean, he just looks physically like he is ready to be a guy. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds as a true freshman. Came in as an outside corner, probably going to play more of a nickel safety role this year. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if come September he's starting over, Sage Ryan. That's not even a diss to Sage Ryan, but I really think Taviano has massive upside. So I'll throw him in there as a freshman as somebody I'm really excited to watch.
Speaking of Toviano, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I nerd out when we talk football. For somebody who like you who's been out there to the spring practices, is Toviano working more at safety or corner?
Safety, yeah. So the first week or two, he was mainly a corner, and there's some people who always predicted he'd be more of a safety. But yeah, as the spring went on, especially as LSU's safety numbers just took a hit and they realized they don't really have depth there, Toviano's definitely basically working at that nickel safety role pretty much all the time.
All right, Brody, I think I've kept you long enough. It was a great feature. If you have not read it, just Google Brody Miller, The Athletic. It's going to be the first thing that pops up. He wrote a feature on Dylan Cruz, kind of dove into the humanitarian side of Dylan. As we all know, it's about just as good as he is a baseball player, which you can imagine what that's like. Brody, thanks so much for joining me today, man.
Thank you for having me, man. Take care. Have a good one.
That was Brody Miller from The Athletic. We're going to take a quick timeout. Coming back, we're going to do back-to-back LSU football segments. I know it's the offseason. There's a lot going on, though. It's list season. We always love that. I may give you a few of that. I want to remind you, though, that today, the Friday show on the Hunt Palmer Show is always brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Look, you know what they got. They got the Cajun fried shrimp. They got the fried fish that is seasoned perfectly, in my opinion. This is not your traditional drive-through seafood restaurant that you might be used to. It is Louisiana born and bred. You can taste it in that food. And look, they got some more menu items to choose from now. They added some new things. The brand new stuffed baked potato. How about a Gulf shrimp Caesar salad? I'm a big Caesar salad guy. Got to get over there and try that. Also, for more meaty folks, a cut-in-house ribeye pork chop. All of it sounds so good. I'm going to check it out. If you don't know where it is, it's right here on Government Street at the corner of Government and North Foster, basically sharing a parking lot with Superior Grill. So get out there. Try Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, the Friday sponsor of the Hunt Palmer Show here every single Friday. Going to take a quick time out. Coming back, we're going to talk about some newcomers that I'm keeping an eye on. 5 that I'm looking at that could be the biggest newcomers for this upcoming season. That's coming up next here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got a chance to sit down with my guy David Duvall this morning for One Bath and Closets, and he's such a great guy and he does such great work. He's been doing this for 3 decades. And we were talking about some of the services he's providing, some of the people in the Baton Rouge area as far as bathrooms go. And he said one of the things that he's seeing a lot is people with aging parents who don't want to move but may need some help upgrading their bathroom. David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets can absolutely do that. It might be a walk-in tub, maybe some other features that may be a little bit dated and need a little help, but they still want to stay at home. One Bath and Closets can help you with that if you've got a parent that's aging. On the closet side, he said the one thing he's getting a ton of is shoe storage. If you just don't have enough room for the amount of shoes that you have, your spouse has, David Duvall and his team see that every single day. When they show up to your home, they're not coming back 3 weeks later to fix a problem. Not going to happen. David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. Check out that website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Turn my music high, high, high. Ha, yeah.
You don't know what you're doing.
Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you could run the slalom. And cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like it's Wall Street.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on.
Friday, lock of the week. Join me, Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff, live from Rufino. Special time, 10 a.m. to noon on Fridays, lock of the week. Game time presented by Bet Rivers from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show here on 104.5 ESPN, a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. And we got a 3-day weekend coming up, fellas. We're off on Monday. Now, I don't want to take full credit for that, but Casey, you were in the meeting. Jacob, you were in the meeting. I'm pretty sure that I was the one that pitched the idea to Matt Moscona. So give me my flowers when they're due, okay? We'll talk about that a little after the break. Maybe you guys can slip me a 20 or something. But anyways, we are off on Monday. And look, a lot of talk in the first two segments. If you missed last segment, we talked to Brody Miller. We took a deep dive into Dylan Cruz. He did a feature on him, kind of, a little bit more personal. We know Dylan Cruz, the great athlete. He kind of dove into the more human side of Dylan Cruz. It's time for some football talk, though. Those of you who know me, I am a football guy. It is my first passion. It's why I decided to get into this industry. And what does off season mean? It means list season. Everyone loves a good list, right? Maybe that was a little tongue-in-cheek, but look, I found this article that I thought was pretty interesting. It's from LSU Wire. They put out their top 5 first-year impact players for LSU. These are predictions based on what they think they're going to do in the fall. And we only have one in common. I went ahead and made my own 5. I'll give you their 5 first. They start off with sophomore cornerback, Texas A&M transfer, Denver Harris. Look, Denver was obviously 5-star coming out of high school. He did some good things. If he can get the off-the-field stuff figured out, which if anybody can, it's Brian Kelly, he's going to be a really good player. Then they dive into freshman defensive end Deshaun Womack, the highly recruited guy, standing 6'5". I couldn't put Deshaun Womack on my list, and not because I don't think he's going to be a good player. I think he is. As a matter of fact, I think he's going to be a great player. But you brought in Braden Swinson. You brought in Womack. You brought in Ovie Agofu. You still have Quincy Wiggins, who we really haven't seen anything of. Hopefully he can break out this year. I think Womack's going to do some good things, even in his freshman season. I don't know if he's going to be on the field for enough snaps to make a significant impact for me. I stayed away from that a little bit. Then they dive into senior Omar Speights. This is an obvious one. If you were listening last segment, I dove into a little bit of football with Brody there at the end. I said, give me one guy who's a newcomer that could stand out this fall. First name out of Brody's mouth, it was Omar Speights. And how could it not be? The guy's played a ton of football at Oregon State. He's going to come in. I think he's going to be a starter right away next to Harold Perkins. They have tight end Kamorian Pimpton on here, and This is a guy that every single host at this station has talked a lot about. He's a 4-star guy. He's huge. He's about 6'7", 6'8". He's athletic. You know what you're getting in Kamorian Pimpton. The problem I have with putting Pimpton on a breakout list like this is LSU has a lot of tight ends. I mean, you got Mason Taylor, in my opinion, the unquestioned starter. I mean, what he did as a freshman last year, he caught the game-winning 2-point conversion against Alabama. He made plays all year long. But you also had Mac Markway, who participated in the spring. You had a handful of other guys. Jackson McGowan, the tight end, he was there in the spring. Throw that on top of Mason Taylor. Kamorian Pimpton's behind the 8 ball a little bit because he wasn't there in the spring. Now, again, he might be the most talented of your tight end room. Does that necessarily mean he's going to get the most snaps? I don't believe it does, even though I do think there's a role for Pimpton this year. And finally, they wrap it up with freshman running back Trey Holly. I love Trey Holly. I think Trey Holly has potential to be the best running back out of anybody in LSU's running back room. Not necessarily this year, though. Look, I have been high on Trey Holly for a long time. He's basically been the best running back in the state of Louisiana for 3 straight seasons. He is a Clyde Edwards-Helaire clone. I think he's a little bit faster and maybe even a little bit stronger than Clyde, and that's saying something. We saw what he did on that 2019 offense. But, again, I kind of decided to dive in and make my own list. I'm going to start with DB as well. I did not go Denver Harris, although I could have. I went Deuce Chestnut. Now, again, I could have went Denver Harris. I could have went Javian Toviano. They're all talented, may even be more talented than Chestnut, but that's not why I chose Chestnut. I chose him for his experience. The guy started a lot of college football games. Over 30, as a matter of fact. Harris and Toviano, they're incredible young talents in their own right, but you have a lot of young talent on this team. Why did you bring in Chestnut? You brought him in because the thing you were missing was a veteran corner in that secondary. That's ultimately why he was brought in. He can be that veteran leader in a young Tiger secondary. Again, he may not be the best addition talent-wise, but he just might be the most important addition. Again, he may not be the best. He may be the most important. I went running back as well. LSU Wire chose Trey Holly. I'm going Logan Diggs. Now, I'm higher on LSU's running back room than most people, particularly Josh Williams. I love the way Josh Williams runs the football. There's a lot of solid backs in the Tiger rotation. Now, some people think that Logan Diggs is going to come in. He's going to be that every down bell cow running back from day one. I definitely do not see that being the case. However, I think he was a good addition because he's a great complementary piece to go along with the other pieces in LSU's backfield. What does LSU kind of lack? That receiver out of the backfield. Now, everyone's hoping that Armani Goodwin could be that guy, but Armani Goodwin can't stay on the field. What do they always say? The best ability is availability. He caught a lot of passes at Notre Dame. I think he's actually going to lead this entire backfield in terms of receptions out of that LSU backfield in 2023. I still think Josh Williams is your guy come the fall. I think he did enough last year to earn that. He's healthy now, too. If anybody saw the video that was released yesterday, it was Josh Williams training. The guy's thighs look like tree trunks, first off, and he looked really explosive in the drills he was doing. He set out pretty much the entirety of spring due to a nagging injury. He looks healthy. He looks ready to go, but I do think there is a role for Logan Diggs. I chose an offensive lineman on this list as well as my number 3. It's not Zalance Hurt. I went Mason Lunsford. Now, again, I could have put Hurd here. He definitely has a chance to start, but ultimately, I decided on Lunsford due to the versatility he has. He also comes in with a lot of Power 5 experience. Played 29 games at Maryland, started 26 of them. He's played at both right guard, at left guard. There's a chance that chatter going around, he has a possibility of playing center here. He's one of those swing guys you can throw in at either spot. You can put in at center, and it's 6'7", 305. He's got the body to play both guard and tackle. It's going to be hard to keep Mason Lunsford off the field at that position, offensive line. You know you're going to have nicks and injuries. Mason Lunsford is going to be a plug-and-play guy, any position you need to put him at. Had to add a pass catcher on this list. I went Jaylen Brown. Now, look, LSU brought in a ton of talent at receiver. We know they brought in Aaron Anderson, the transfer from Alabama, who I think is going to be really good. I would be absolutely shocked if he was not LSU's leading return guy. They also added Kai Preen, Kyle Parker, Shelton Sampson. But I think Brown has the potential to be the best out of this group. I mean, you heard it in spring before he went down with an injury. He got rave reviews from the entire LSU coaching staff. Again, he had that injury. Wasn't anything major, at least it didn't appear to be. He should be good to go for the start of the season. He's got the combination of size, might be the fastest receiver in LSU's room. That's saying a lot considering Chris Hilton's in that room. He could be a candidate for some very early playing time. Now, I also had to wrap up with Omar Speights. That was the one we had in common. I think it's a no-brainer. I have it. LSU Wire has it. Brody Miller had it as well. Look, Speights had a very good career at Oregon. He was a tackling machine, and he looked really good in spring practice. If you didn't see the clips, you didn't watch the spring game, he was a guy that was definitely noticeable. He was all over the field. And look, to be frank with you, LSU has a linebacker spot. It's completely up for grabs. You know they're moving Harold Perkins inside, but LSU kind of runs that 3-3-5, that 4-2-5, depending on what you consider the defensive end, the linebacker. I like to call it a 4-2-5. So you know Perkins is going to be in the middle of that defense. Who's going to be next to him? You lose Micah Vaskerville, who was pretty instrumental part of that defense in the later half of the season. Now, Greg Penn's back. Greg Penn struggled a lot last year. He had his ups and downs, very inconsistent. I think Speights comes in with his experience. I think he grabs that starting spot. I think he's the starting will linebacker right next to Harold Perkins come day one. And if Speights lives up to the hype, he and Perkins, they could wind up being one of the best linebacker duos, not just at LSU or in the SEC, but in the entire country. I'm really excited for all five of these guys. And again, a lot of it's splitting hairs. We'll look back on it later and be like, Taylor was way right. Taylor was way wrong. I could go 5 for 5. I could split it. I could go 0 for 5. We'll see. I chose these guys because you brought in a lot of guys at a lot of position of need. I didn't even mention Braithwaite, the freshman linebacker that came in, but they brought these guys in for a reason. All of them have experience, with the exception of Jaylen Brown. I think he's uber talented, but Speights started a lot of Power 5 football. He's coming in. Mason Lunsford started a lot of Power 5 football. He's coming in. Deuce Chestnut, he started over 30 games at Syracuse at corner. You don't do that if you're not pretty good. So I think that you really can't go wrong with putting anybody on the list. But again, I win as an experience factor because experience was something LSU was lacking in those spots. Continue talking about Omar Speights. You look at the linebacker spot. Sure, you get Penn back, who was a little inconsistent, but what's behind him? You got Braithwaite, the freshman, coming in. You got West Weeks, who played a little bit last year and looked solid when he did play, but he doesn't have that grind of the SEC season, just an every week starter like a Speights did at the Power 5 level. I still think there's a place for West Weeks. His younger brother, Witt, coming in as well. Word is he might even be more talented than West. So you have talent there, but you needed a plug-and-play guy to put in next to Harold Perkins, because while Perkins is going to be that middle linebacker, I still think he's going to be that QB spy. He's going to rush the passer. He's going look of him as like a Devin White. Everybody was mad when they moved Devin White off the edge back to middle linebacker. It didn't hurt him any, and White was still a great pass rusher. He still was that QB spy. That's basically what they're going to do with Harold Perkins. So who's that linebacker that's going to drop back in coverage a little bit, cover that middle of the field? I think it's Omar Speights. He did it a lot at Oregon State. I think he's going to be really good here. All right, look, we're going to take a quick timeout. We got one more segment in the 1 o'clock hour. We're talking a little bit more football power index. Who are the toughest opponents on LSU's schedule? Now, of course, that does not include Alabama and Florida State. I picked my top 3. That's coming up right after this. Here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco, voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Ford has $15,000 off plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on all new 22 Ford F-150 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside off the bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
In for live play-by-play of the SEC baseball tournament, starting with the quarterfinals Friday night at 6, then the semifinals Saturday at noon, and the championship game Sunday afternoon at 2, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
No, this is not Hunt Palmer. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Hunt Palmer here on the Hunt Palmer Show. He decided to go up to Shreveport, visit a little family this weekend for the Memorial Day weekend. He told me yesterday that he was probably going to be in the middle of a round of golf during this show. So my guy working hard and living it up there in Shreveport. Look, we know that it is off season, which means it is list season for the college football world. Go 247 put out a list yesterday of their 3 toughest opponents outside of Florida State and Alabama, which is going to be a toss-up game for LSU. These 3 opponents, they believe, could give LSU the most trouble. They went Ole Miss, they went Texas A&M, and they went Mississippi State. Now, I actually have 2 of the 3 with them. I went Ole Miss and A&M. Look, I'm going to go through this list, and I didn't rank them in order of toughest to least. I just did it chronologically in terms of who LSU is going to play. First one I put on there, September 30th at Ole Miss. Look, the Rebels, they should be much more consistent on offense this year. You got Spencer Sanders coming in from Oklahoma State. I know that in the spring they said they don't know who their starting quarterback is. It's going to be Spencer Sanders. You don't bring in a fifth-year senior quarterback to sit on the sidelines. We saw the same thing with Jaden Daniels last year. You knew when Daniels came in, he was going to be that starting quarterback. I expect the same thing from Spencer Sanders. He's the type of quarterback Lane Kiffin likes, a guy with a big arm, but can also take off and run. Kiffin is one of the best in the business about getting his QBs and setting them up for success, getting the ball to his playmakers in space. Speaking of playmakers, Quinshon Judkins is back for the Ole Miss Rebels. I'm sure all of you remember him. He had an absolutely explosive 2022 campaign. He should be on a lot of the preseason Heisman list. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. He is a threat to take it to the house every time he touches the ball. Also, their defense should be pretty improved this year as well under new defensive coordinator Pete Golding. If LSU comes into this game flat, the Rebs could potentially take this game from them. I know it wasn't a particularly close game last year, but Ole Miss is more talented than they showed. I think a lot of people expected Jackson Dart to come in and really have a seamless transition. He did not do that. That's why it seems like he's going to be replaced. I think Spencer Sanders, a lot better fit for what Lane Kiffin typically likes to do at the quarterback spot. I think they're in much better shape this year with Spencer Sanders. The second game I picked, and the one that I differ with the folks over at Go247, I chose November 11th versus Florida at home. Now, Florida loses Anthony Richardson, but I think that's one of those addition by subtraction type of things. Anybody who knows me, I'm not high on Anthony Richardson at all. There's no reason he should have went that high in the NFL draft. I think he was a terrible, terrible passer. Their quarterback this year is either going to be Graham Mertz or Jack Miller. Seen them both play. Neither of them are world beaters, but they do just enough. If Florida can get that offensive line rolling like they've had in recent years, they can get that run game going. I think Mertz and Miller, they can do just enough. If they don't turn that ball over, you know that Florida defense is going to be even better this year, and they can win some games. Again, that defense should be much improved, and you know that Billy Napier wants to get a win in Tiger Stadium. Also, an important fact to note, it's the week after the Alabama game. Every single year, LSU struggles after the Alabama game, as Bama does as well. That game is always a dogfight. You remember just last year, LSU went up to Fayetteville, Arkansas, squeaked out a 13-10 win against Arkansas, who was playing their backup quarterback in a game that you were probably outplayed in. I mean, Harold Perkins and Josh Williams basically won that game by themselves. I was looking at the stat the other day. LSU had 133 all-purpose yards in that game. Josh Williams had 120 yards rushing. And that was the Harold Perkins coming out party. I mean, you needed historic performance from your true freshman to come out of that game with a win. LSU's always beat up after that game. They're not careful. Florida can sneak up on them. The final game I chose, I hated to do it. November 25th against Texas A&M at home. I hate putting them here just as much as you hate hearing it. By no means do I think Texas A&M is a threat to win the West. They're Texas A&M. They're never going to win the West. But they always bring their A game against LSU. We saw it just last year. Everyone in Baton Rouge, myself included, thought the Tigers were going to steamroll the Aggies. But look what happened. They took them lightly, and A&M steamrolled LSU. Connor Wegman also returns. He could thrive in what should be a pass-happy offense under new offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino. Now, I still think LSU wins this game, but if the Tigers aren't locked in, it could get hairy for a second year in a row. A&M's nobody to walk over. We saw Connor Wegman last year as a true freshman. Kind of got thrown in there before he was ready. I mean, Haynes King sucked. Max Johnson got hurt halfway through the year. They threw in Wegman, but he got better as the season went along. He's one of those guys that is going to continue to get better. And A&M, while I think Jimbo's a little overrated, I think he's basically stealing money from that university, getting the contract he has right now. That team still has a lot of talent. They can still give you a run if you're not focused. I think LSU will be focused this year. I think they will win that game, but those are the three games that I'm looking at that could get hairy for LSU. So just a quick recap. I went Ole Miss September 30th. That game is on the road in Oxford. November 11th, Florida at home. That is the week after the Alabama game. LSU's always bruised and beat up. And then November 25th, Texas A&M, the regular season finale at home. Hated putting them there, but they're a talented team. We saw what happened last year. LSU took them lightly, and they paid the price for it. All right, that's going to wrap up the first hour and our LSU football talk for the day. But you football heads out there, we're going to talk a little bit more at the top of the 2 o'clock hour. We're going to go out to New Orleans. My guy Ross Jackson with Locked on Saints. He's going to give us a little report from Saints OTAs, what he's seen, what he likes, what he doesn't like. How does that Derek Carr offense look this year? Everything that I've heard, there's a little bit of a different feel coming out of Saints training camp. Everyone's more relaxed. Carr's really leading that offense. We'll get Ross's take on that. Also, coming up at about 2:30, we're going to go out to Hoover. We're going to talk to Mark Etheridge of D1 Baseball. He's going to give us a little update from Hoover, and we may preview the LSU matchup, and he's going to tell us about the potential top 8 seeds in the upcoming NCAA tournament. That's all coming up here on a Friday edition. A reminder that Friday shows every single week brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp right here on Government Street at the corner of Government and North Foster. Get out there, check them out. Great food, a drive-through seafood restaurant, but not your typical drive-through seafood. They do it down home, and they do it right. Check them out, Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. That's going to wrap up the 1 o'clock hour. We'll be back for another hour, kicking things off with Ross Jackson. That's coming up right after this break on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down the
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The Arizona Cardinals cut wideout DeAndre Hopkins today. That move will save the team just over $8 million in cap space. Where will Hopkins go next? ESPN's Mike Tannenbaum.
Two jump right out to me, Kansas City and the Patriots. If you think about Kansas City, over the last few years, obviously they moved on from Tyreek Hill. McCole Hardman left in free agency. They drafted Rashid Rice, and Kadarius Toney is certainly emerging. But, wow, could you imagine Patrick Mahomes having a weapon like DeAndre Hopkins?
Hopkins had 2 years left on his Cardinals contract. He's now a free agent. The Saints installed their version of the West Coast offense this week, and they brought in John Gruden to help quarterback Derek Carr during that process. Gruden was one of Carr's head coaches in Las Vegas. Carb Day today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final practice for Sunday's Indy 500. Two-time champ Takuma Sato put up the fastest lap of the day at almost 228 miles an hour. The pole sitter for Sunday, Alex Palou, was fourth on today's speed chart.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome into a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Mr. Hunt Palmer, who is out playing golf somewhere in North Louisiana, kicking off the 2 o'clock hour right now. If you didn't catch hour one, recapping here a little bit. We talked LSU football a lot. We started the show recapping LSU's 2 performances in the SEC tournament so far, and we were joined by Brody Miller to talk a little Dylan Cruz, as he did a pretty interesting feature. Want to stick with the football talk right now, and we're going to shift from college to the professional ranks. Talk a little New Orleans Saints with Ross Jackson from the Locked On Saints podcast. Ross, what's going on, man?
Hey, buddy. Glad to be here with you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, look, okay, well, first off, we actually just heard this in SportsCenter, and it's kind of been the talk of the town right now. Is John Gruden going to be on the Saints support staff?
I highly doubt it. I mean, this was already a bit of a curious decision because, yes, Derek Carr had his most successful seasons in Las Vegas, or let's say with the Raiders, rather, while he was working with John Gruden. And John Gruden is, a big part of what Sean Payton became over time. They were on the 1997 Philadelphia Eagles staff together, for instance. But John Gruden was also effectively removed from the NFL for, racist, homophobic, anti-gay, misogynistic emails and things like that were uncovered. So not likely to see him re-enter the ranks of the NFL coaching staffs or anything like that. But I think the Saints bringing him in as a consultant is a curious decision, but I can understand the logic behind what it is that they were trying to get done with that.
All right, so let's dive right into the guy he helped mentor out there in Vegas for a few years, Derek Carr. Look, all the talk all offseason, rightfully so, has been about the offense. As far as OTAs go, what has a Derek Carr offense looked like so far in OTAs?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that you're excited to see is that you kind of get back to this quarterback-led and quarterback-executed offense. So what I mean by that is that Derek Carr is the type of quarterback that you can give 2 different play calls to in the huddle. He can communicate those, get in and out of the huddle quickly, get to the line of scrimmage. his pre-snap diagnosis is amongst some of the best in the NFL, and so his ability to be able to read across a defense, know the look that he's being given, understand where pressure is coming from, and then potentially even change the play at the line of scrimmage. What the Saints will often do is that they'll give you the first play call, and then they'll give you what's called a kill call, quote unquote. And then that's when you hear, if you hear a quarterback at the line of scrimmage yelling kill, 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 that's them opting to the second play most of the time. There's obviously some different exceptions and things like that go with that, but and different things that kind of get folded in as a wrinkle. But you get that sort of cerebral nature back in your offense. You get the quarterback making the protections back in the offense, which hasn't happened since the departure of Drew Brees, or the retirement of Drew Brees, rather. And so, you're still going to see a lot of the same familiar concepts that you've seen from the New Orleans Saints for the past, since 2006 or so. But now you're getting back to where this offense was kind of owned, operated, and even adjusted at times the line of scrimmage by the quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's got to calm the whole offense down as well. I mean, when you got a guy back there who can make all the calls, that kind of sets the tone for everybody else. But in terms of Carr's leadership, what he's looked like on the practice field, he's kind of a quieter guy in the media, doesn't, mouth off, kind of a softer spoken guy. He has been very vocal in his calls, but what's he been like as a leader on the practice field so far?
Yeah, look, I think the thing that's so great about, what Derek Carr does as a leader is that he is more vocal on the field than we see him in front of media. He'll give us great answers and he'll tell stories and he does all these other things. But, when he's on the field, he holds people accountable. He holds himself accountable. He lets people know, if something is happening that shouldn't be happening, and speaking up when he feels that he needs to speak up. But he also has a lot of respect for the other leaders that are already established on this team, particularly over on the defensive side when we think about guys like Cameron Jordan, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore, and others. So I think that's part of the thing that I think, the Saints really wanted, was that they wanted somebody to come in and be the leader at quarterback. One of the things that we discussed a lot last year was who is the leader of this offense. And we sort of saw Alvin Kamara step into a little bit of a leadership role last year when he delivered that impassioned speech to the locker room after the Thursday Night Football loss to the Arizona Cardinals. But that was week 7, week 8 of that year and everything. And so I think when you look at where the Saints are now, everything has very clear direction because of the decisions that they made at quarterback.
Yeah, and I've seen some video, haven't made it out to OTAs, but Carr's looking really good throwing the ball. But as far as the pass catchers, who's kind of been his favorite target right now?
I think I might have to nominate Chris Olave for right now. I mean, goodness, there was a moment where Derek Carr ran a play action pass during, I think it was team drills. It might have been early in team, and or 7-on-7s. But he ran sort of this, play action. And look, during OTAs, training camp practice, like this is the opportunity to just give guys a shot. Make a throw that try a throw that you wouldn't usually make in game. And he put one up for Chris Olave deep down the field that kind of sailed, got a lot of air got up under it, and Chris Olave skied up over Marcus May and made the play. And I think those types of moments build a lot of confidence for you when you're a wide receiver trying to earn the trust of your quarterback. That quarterback knows if he puts the ball in your vicinity, you're going to do everything within your ability and within your power to go and fight and get it. And that was a big emphasis for Chris Olave this offseason, bulking up, getting better in that contested catch range. He had 24 contested catch opportunities last year, came down with only 8 of those. That's a third, 33% per Pro Football Focus. So certainly he'd like to see that number go up. And if he keeps making plays like he made on that specific throw, I think he'll be in an even better position in 2023 than he was in 2022.
Yeah, look, as far as the tight end spot goes, I know that, we've heard that Carr and Juwan Johnson look really good together, but a guy that's certainly overcome a lot, but was teammates with Derek Carr in Las Vegas, that being former LSU tight end Foster Moreau. What's the connection been there? And then how does Foster look as a whole coming back from what he did?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that I was surprised, even though we kind of had an idea that Foster was going to be there. But, man, him not only being present, but participating, running, catching, doing everything that he was doing, it was really, for lack of a better phrase, it was awesome. Like, it was cool to see, you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to get a feel-good story with no strings attached. And so that was awesome to see. And then, in terms of the connection is still strong there. I asked Derek on Tuesday about, reconnecting with Foster Moreau and throwing to him again, but just in different colors. And the first thing he said was, well, yeah, I mean, there's no learning curve with this guy. I know how to throw him the ball. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Saints went out to go and get him. And you saw the same thing with, Jonathan Abrams. Jonathan Abrams over the defensive side, but then they also added Brian Edwards, the wide receiver, on the offensive side. And, who knows, maybe Hunter Renfro's next once that June 1 deadline passes. And so I think that, you look at the connection between the two of them, it's still very strong. And Foster Moreau has basically been out there for the past 10 days. He signed, he was cleared medically. I believe it was a Tuesday, signed with the Saints on a Wednesday, and then he was out on the field at 7:30 in the morning working with everybody on, that Thursday, and he's been out there ever since. And so, there's a lot of excitement around Foster Moreau and the tight end position, which would allow the Saints to have a lot of disguise over on their offensive side. They have two tight ends on the field, which usually signals run heavy, but they'll be able to throw out of those formations because of the versatility of guys like Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson and Derek Carr getting comfortable and familiar with Juwan Johnson. Already having that comfort and familiarity with Foster Moreau is huge.
Well, yeah, and I think people forget because he looked so comfortable at tight end last year. Juwan Johnson's a converted receiver, so you absolutely could have them on the field at the same time. Okay, look, we've been talking a lot of offense, and rightfully so. You got Foster Moreau coming in. Derek Carr's the guy. But, this defense, it was pretty solid last year for the most part. And you mentioned earlier the lack of leaders last year on the offense. The defense had plenty, but how have they looked so far through OTAs?
Yeah, I think, it's funny. It's the defense makes some plays, the offense makes some plays, so there's a little bit of trade-off that happens there. But I'll tell you, the thing that's most impressive about the defense right now was the presence, was the attendance of that defense. Cam Jordan's out there. The entire defensive line unit was also out there. Tyrann Mathieu out there. Marcus Maye's out there. Alontae Taylor, Paulson Adebo. I think maybe, you could see names like Marshawn Lattimore and Demario Davis on the absentee list, but make no mistake about it, Demario has been there working with the New Orleans Saints. There's photos on the Saints Twitter account of him being in the indoor facility working with Alontae Taylor and Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Olave and everybody. And so that leadership and that presence is still very much there for this defense. And the big thing that you want to see is if the defensive line can take a step forward, not have to get to a point to where they have to ramp up in the season to start getting to the quarterback, not take another step back in the run game. They were a top 5 run defense over the course of the past, the most recent years, up until last year where they dropped to 24th in the NFL. You'd like to see them maybe at least get back to middle of the pack there, 15th, 16th, something like that. But keep that passing defense strong, which was second in the NFL last year when it came to yardage. And so if they can keep points off the board and just continue to do what it is that, the New Orleans Saints defenses have been doing since Dennis Allen came back to town in 2015 as he rebuilt the defense going into 2017, then this team should be in a position to win a lot of games. And hopefully with the better execution over on the offensive side, they can turn some of those losses that we saw last year into situations where you expect them to be able to drive down the field and win.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned defensive line. That's kind of where I wanted to go next. But, what does that say about a guy like a Cam Jordan? He's never set out. He doesn't miss games. He's never had a contract dispute. And recently he said that, he's kind of taken on more of a mentoring role, which is perfect because you selected Brian Bresee and Isaiah Foskey early in this last draft. How does a guy like Cam Jordan help those two kind of with the learning curve and jumping from college to the pros?
Yeah, I think, I'll start with Isaiah Foskey specifically because the two of them played a similar position. I think part of it is just managing expectation and adversity coming into the league. Let's not forget that Cam Jordan, who is now the franchise's all-time sack leader with 115 and a half sacks throughout his career, only had one sack in his first season, in his rookie year. And he was brought in to play a little bit more of a 5-tech role where he's playing as a little bit more of a run stopper than an actual edge rusher. So he's playing more the edge defender role. And the first thing that Isaiah Foskey said that they had him do when he showed up here in New Orleans was learn a little bit more of the 4-eye role, which is basically playing over the tackle, the opposing tackle's inside shoulder. So it's not much of a pass rushing spot. It's a spot where you're trying to protect that gap between the tackle and the guard in the run game. And so it's pretty similar what they're asking Isaiah Foskey to start learning at this point, and having a guy like Cam Jordan who came in as an edge defender, asked to be a run defender first, and then developed into the pass rusher, the I think future Hall of Fame pass rusher that he has developed into. He has the ability to help a guy like Isaiah Foskey go through that process. As for Brian Bresee, he's in a situation now to where he could potentially earn a starting role as a rookie. And so having a guy like Cam Jordan on the opposite side of you that could help mentor, but that also draws a lot of attention over on the defensive side when they actually get into games, could open a guy like Bresee up for more opportunities to do what it is that he does best, which is be that penetrating 3-tech pass rusher.
Okay, whether it's an Isaiah Foskey, a Brian Brissy, we saw A.T. Perry come in, they got Kendre Miller. Which rookie has kind of stood out to you the most so far through OTAs?
I think A.T. Perry. We haven't gotten to see Kendre Miller yet because he's still rehabbing the knee, the MCL injury, so we probably won't really get a look at him with the ball in his hands until training camp. Foskey and Brizzy haven't seen a lot of field time when the media has been present because they're kind of in the deeper teams at the moment. And so really the guys that we've gotten to see the most are Jake Haener as well as A.T. Perry. And I think actually Jake Haener is somebody I could add to that list too. He's had some standout moments, good ball location, good placement, nice anticipation. Got a little bit rushed during his first snaps in team drills and 7-on-7s, kind of the first time he really had the veteran defense there. And so there was a little bit of, rushing and not letting things come to him as they did. But as he settled in, things got a little bit better for him. A.T. Perry made an outstanding catch on the sideline as it was kind of low and outside. Really nice ball placement by Jake Haener. He kind of contorted his body, kept his feet in bounds, but then, got those hands out to go to make kind of the sticky grab as the ball started to go out of bounds, which was a great play by A.T. Perry. So, you're seeing those two guys right now as the rookies that are getting kind of the most opportunity to flash, and they're making good on that when those opportunities present themselves.
All right, look, as far as the new additions to the Saints team, as of right now, Alvin Kamara, there is no word on what his availability is going to be this year, but it's kind of a ultimate insurance policy. They bring in a guy like Jamal Williams, who everyone seems to be really excited about. What's he looked like so far?
Yeah, I really like Jamal Williams, and I'm very excited to see him here in New Orleans. I think the thing that you've seen from him so far is that he and Derek Carr are working on the connection in the passing game, and that was a big thing. I spoke to some people around Jamal, and he was catching 1,000 passes 4 days a week over the course of the offseason, trying to develop more as a pass catcher, trying to develop more in terms of the mental processing area of the offseason. So he was doing, something like 1,500 push-ups a day, and he was doing, catching 1,000 passes a day and doing water resistance workouts and all this other stuff to kind of build strength. So really great in terms of what we've seen from Jamal Williams so far. And still a really kind of, surprise that they were able to get a guy who was the, rushing touchdowns leader last year on the contract that they did. So there's a lot of excitement around Jamal Williams, and understandably so.
Ross, you've been great. Thank you for all the information. One more question for you before you get out of here. Give me a little bit of an early prediction. What is this team ceiling with Derek Carr this season?
Yeah, I think that they're a 10-win team in 2023 as long as things go well. I think injuries and health are going to be even more important than the Derek Carr addition. Can the pieces around him stay healthy? Can the defense stay healthy? And that's been an issue for the Saints over the course of the past couple of years. They really mitigated and knocked down the number of soft tissue injuries last year, which was a big win for them. Now they kind of have to get rid of all the fluky stuff that's kind of happened, lacerated kidneys and cluster headaches, cluster migraines, and these other things that have kind of kept these guys on the sidelines from, for multiple games. And so if they can get through the health concerns, then I think that they're a double-digit win team, and they're a team that should be competing for the NFC South division, if not winning it flat out.
Ross, thank you so much for joining me, man. I'm on next week for Hunt as well. I may reach out to you again. You're always a good source of information. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, buddy. No problem. You call, I'm there. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, man. Thanks. Have a good one. That was Ross Jackson there with the Locked on Saints podcast, giving a little OTA update out of Saints training camp. I heard the same thing about A.T. Perry. He is apparently turning some heads out there in New Orleans, making a lot of tough catches, which is good because if you remember, coming in, that was kind of the knock on him. He dropped a lot of passes in college, but he gets that under control. They may have gotten a steal late in this draft. Running a little bit long right now. Want to take a timeout. We're going to come back, talk a little bit more Saints. A couple articles came out I kind of want to hit on. That's coming up next here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking name.
Live at Lunch debut, Monday, Memorial Day. That's right. It's our NCAA Baseball Selection Show this Monday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're live at the original walk-ons with reaction from Alec Box Stadium and the LSU baseball team. Live at Lunch, Monday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Mr. Hunt Palmer. He's up there visiting family in Shreveport. Wanted to take in extended Memorial Day weekend, if you will. The entire Guarantee Media team is off this upcoming Monday, so Hunt got himself a nice little 4-day weekend. During the break, I had to run into the break room. I left my lid of my cup on the printer, and I had to grab it before I got in trouble. Speaking of trouble, nice segue there, huh, Mr. Beck? Fan Nation put out an article, 3 Saints veterans that are on the roster bubble and could be at risk of being cut. They mentioned 3 guys that kind of stood out to them. Got some thoughts on that because I'm not sure about one of them, and it's the first guy on this list, defensive tackle Malcolm Roach. They have him on there saying, he has underperformed and he's been tough to get on the field, and I understand all that, but the Saints are not deep at defensive line. I mean, that's why they drafted all these guys, but Foskey's not going to be ready right away. Bressee's coming off multiple injuries in college. We don't know what he's going to do. If nothing else, I think Malcolm Roach stays on this team as a depth piece. I don't see him going anywhere. I think he sticks on this roster. The other 2, though, I do tend to agree with a little bit, starting with linebacker Zach Bond. Now, if you remember, the Saints drafted him fairly high, and they had high hopes for him. He has not lived up to it. Never really a good fit for the Saints scheme. He's 6'3", he's 225 pounds. They wanted him to play inside linebacker. That could work in college. 6'3", 225 in the middle of an NFL defense is not big enough. You pair that with Pete Werner, him coming up. You got Demario Davis. Caden Ellis performed really well last year when Warner went down with an injury. Zach Bond's kind of the odd man out. You can't keep everybody on the roster. Davis is ahead of him for sure. Pete Werner's ahead of him for sure. Caden Ellis is there as well. They may keep one more linebacker. Not sure, though, at the price you're paying for Zach Bond, you could maybe look somewhere else. Now, he's been a great member of that special teams unit, and there's definitely value there. NFL teams value what you can do in special teams. Matthew Slater is going to go in the Patriots Hall of Fame one day. He's been nothing but a special teams warrior. So there's definitely a spot for that, but I could see the Saints parting ways with Zach Bond. The last one they have is a guy I can't see why the Saints have held on to him this long. I hate to be overly critical of him, but that's Traquan Smith. I mean, it just seems like every single year people are giving Traquan chance after chance. Is this the year Traquan breaks out? It's really not. I mean, he's had drop problems, and if it's not drop problems, he's not healthy enough to stay on the field. Speaking of not healthy enough, Michael Thomas is going to have a roster spot, whether he's there or not. Deontay Hardy's still there. You brought in A.T. Perry. Chris Olave's there. There's a lot of pass catchers on this team right now. And let's not forget, there's been rumblings of the Saints possibly bringing in a guy like Hunter Renfrow. Now, that's not set in stone yet, but if they do, that's just another body that a guy like Traquan Smith is going to compete with. He's 27 years old. He's not getting any younger. You got guys that are a lot more talented and a lot more available, with the exception of Michael Thomas, that are ahead of him. I don't see how he keeps his roster spot. I want to pivot a little bit to a guy that is in no danger of losing his roster spot. That is rookie running back Kendre Miller. We talked to Ross Jackson just a second ago about Kendre. He said he hadn't been out there at OTAs much. He is rehabbing that injury to his knee that he sustained late in the year last year for TCU. But Saints Wire put out an article. They quoted Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report, who really hated the pick for the Saints. I could not disagree with him more. Knox actually said, they quoted him in this article, he said, presumably New Orleans made the pick as an insurance policy for Alvin Kamara. The problem is, they say, they already got an insurance policy and a rushing compliment to Kamara when they signed Jamal Williams. The other issue is that Miller is an upright runner with limited third down skills who simply isn't the best fit in the Saints offense. They go on to say that if Kamara's out, neither Williams nor Miller is a good pass-catching back. I always push back on that a little bit because that was a knock, if you guys remember, on Leonard Fournette. When he was at LSU, they just didn't throw him the ball out of the backfield that much. Not getting the ball thrown to you and not being a good pass catcher are two completely different things. I mean, maybe the scheme that he ran in college did not allow him to catch the ball. I mean, they had plenty of weapons. You had Quentin Johnston out there. Max Duggan liked to go downfield with the ball. They just didn't ask Kendre to do that. That doesn't mean that he can't catch the ball. Also, there's kind of this thing right now that Jamal Williams cannot be a third down back because he couldn't catch, and I kind of want to know what people are watching. Jamal Williams catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. He's very good at it. He did it in Green Bay even when he was splitting time with Aaron Jones, who's also a pass catcher. Then he gets traded to the Lions. Everyone thought, DeAndre Swift, he's going to catch the passes out of the backfield. He's going to be the third down back. It was Jamal Williams. Even before Swift went down with an injury, Jamal Williams caught those passes. he was that third down back. We just talked to Ross Jackson a second ago. He talked about how in sync Williams and Carr are together. Jamal Williams has been catching all of those balls. He knows he's going to be used as the third down back. When the Saints signed Jamal Williams, I was like, great. If Kamara's out for any sort of reason, they got Jamal Williams, a guy who could step in there, catch a little bit of passes. I agree with Christopher Knox on one thing. They didn't sign Kendre Miller to be a third down back. That's why they signed Jamal Williams. We turn on the tape. It doesn't lie. Jamal Williams, he's really good at the short passing game. He catches a lot of those screen passes, very good at reading his blocks, bouncing off tackles. I'm not saying he's going to go down the field and run corner routes or post patterns, but a little check down route for Derek Carr. Williams has done that in his career, and he's done it pretty effectively so far. I can't agree with this take. I think Miller is a good fit because they are going to use him as that big physical between the tackles runner that he is. All right, look, that's going to wrap up our football talk for the day. I want to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to Mark Etheridge of D1 Baseball. He's actually out there at Hoover. We want to catch him before that game starts. We're going to preview the LSU game, obviously. We're also going to talk to him baseball on a national scale. Who's those top 8 seeds he's looking at? Who's his favorite to take this home? And maybe even a surprise in there on which team can make a run at the national title. That's coming up right after this on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah. You don't know what you're doing. Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you can run the slalom. The cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clash and chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like it's Wall Street.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. I'm out on vacation. Musso in the big chair. Terry O in as well. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Hunt for about another 30 minutes or so. Look, the last 4 or so segments, we have talked a lot of football. We hit LSU, then we just wrapped it up with the Saints. Want to transition back into baseball a little bit. I recapped the last 2 games of LSU. We're going to preview this one a little bit and talk a little baseball at a national level as well. We're actually going to go out to Hoover, Alabama right now and join Mark Etheridge of D1 Baseball. Mark, how are you today?
Doing great. It's been a long week at Hoover, but we've still got a lot to play for here. A lot of good games coming up. A lot of regional, destinations to figure out who's going to host, who's going to make it in, all of that stuff. We're going to know this in a few days.
That's actually where I want to start with you. Look, a lot of people coming into this tournament said, even if LSU loses out and goes winless, they have a national seed locked up. Look, if LSU loses today and they are eliminated in the tournament, do you still think this team has done enough to lock up one of those national seeds?
Yeah, I do. I think that really at this point, all 4 of the top teams in the conference, the ones that had buys, I think all of those will be top 8 seeds. That includes LSU. And it's more about just the body of work the whole year. I know there's been some hiccups late, but they're just so good and so consistent for most of the year. You can't just throw that away based on a couple of weeks that didn't go their way.
Yeah, and Mark, honestly, I actually came away from last night's loss a little encouraged because you had Paul Skeens, who's been great all year. He didn't have his best stuff, and LSU still had a chance to win that game. Riley Cooper came in, 7 strikeouts all year long, even before the injuries, but especially after. This bullpen's been shaky. They're kind of picking it up a little bit. I mean, I know Skeens is a stud, but do you think this team, they got a chance to win it all if that back end of the bullpen steps up?
Yeah, that's the issue. That's the vulnerability, the back end of the bullpen. And you're right. The last couple of weeks has been better, since the meltdown at Mississippi State. I mean, that was bad. But since then, it's been a lot better. And, as for yesterday, it was really just 1 inning, right? And I think Arkansas scored all their runs in the 4th and made it hold up. And the other thing about that game is that Arkansas threw their best 2 pitchers and 2 of the best pitchers in the league in the same game to beat LSU. And if you throw those 2 guys against anybody, you're going to have a great chance to win even against Paul Skeens, because he's just one guy and they got 2 of them. So I think that was what I took from that game. Arkansas is really good too. I mean, that's the other thing. It's not like some people get caught up. Well, they lost a game or they lost 2 games or whatever it is, but you got to give the opponent some credit too. There's some really good teams in this league.
Mark, like you said earlier, it kind of looks like the top 4 teams in the league have some of those national seeds locked up. But in your opinion, kind of looking more broadly, who are some of the other teams around the country you think locked up those top 8?
Yeah, it'll be Wake Forest is certainly in the top spot. I think they'll be the number 1 overall seed, and then you're going to have a group of SEC teams, probably Arkansas, Florida, LSU in some order, probably depending on how things finish up here. And then I think Stanford and Clemson in some order will be the next 2. Vandy will be in there as well. And then that 8th spot for me is pretty open. I think Virginia would be a team to be considered. Coastal Carolina, especially if they go on and win the Sun Belt Tournament Championship, they would be another team to consider. And even, a long shot like Alabama, who's really shot up their RPIs, I think 9 this morning. If they would have beat Vandy, and then who knows, if they beat Florida on Saturday, even they could get in the mix. And that's, considering what that program was a month ago, that would be a phenomenal story.
Yeah, look, you mentioned Wake Forest is going to probably be the number 1 overall seed. They've seemed like the most consistent team all year. We mentioned LSU had those bullpen struggles. Wake Forest really hasn't had that. Are they your favorite to win this thing? And if they are not, who are you picking right now to win the World Series?
Yeah, I'm picking Florida. I think that Florida down the stretch has been the best team since Cagliano has pitched so much better. I mean, the last couple of weeks, and he'll likely throw tomorrow, but these last couple of weeks he's been phenomenal. He's been their best pitcher on their staff, and that's a really good staff. So I think that with that offense, the way BT Rifell has come on offensively, I mean, there's just so many ways that they can beat you. Early in the year, they had bullpen issues, and they've seemed to figure that out. So I think Florida's the pick, although Arkansas, certainly Wake Forest, LSU, those would all be teams I wouldn't hesitate to see in that championship series.
Well, I got to tell you, Mark, I'm sure the Tiger fans here in Baton Rouge are just thrilled at the fact that you just picked Florida to win this whole thing. Look, if it's not one of these top 8 seeds, the teams that everybody's looking at, Florida, Wake Forest, and LSU, is there a surprise team out there that if they got into Omaha, you could be like, hey, they could make a run at this thing?
Well, I mean, there are a few of them that we could talk about. Clemson right now is just so hot. I think, they haven't lost in almost a month. They're just continuing to play well. And it's hard to believe that, they were a team that when we started predicting regionals, they weren't even in the field. And they've just come so far with it. I think another team to watch would be a team like Coastal Carolina. Another one would be, I would say, maybe a Miami. Also, Southern Miss would be another team I would watch, just with the whole Scott Berry, their longtime coach, announced his retirement. That's a club I really like, and I think they could have some success. To get the right draw, there'll be a problem.
I hate to kind of put you on the spot right now, but look, as you said, LSU, they're going to host a regional. Who's it looking like LSU may grab with them as the other 3 teams?
Well, there may not be any regionals in Texas, so you could see some teams that normally would go to Texas regionals and sites there end up at LSU. The Southland winner is the probable 4, I would say. And then, I mean, you really could be anybody. I think there are not going to be many regionals out west. There may only be one. So those teams, they have to go somewhere. And so there's a good possibility that you're going to get a West Coast team as well. So I think that the interesting part for me will be, can LSU win without throwing Schemes in the opener? Can they throw someone else? Who would that be, against the number 4 team? And then have him set up for that game, too. That's really typically that sets the stage on who's going to win the regional.
Mark, I know you're at the ballpark. I know you got to go. The game's starting in about 15 minutes or so. But before I get you out of here, you're about to watch LSU and A&M do battle. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I like LSU. I think Ty Floyd has pitched so much better the last couple of weeks. I think he'll be the difference. The interesting part for me is Tommy White's not in the lineup. I think he's kind of got some nagging stuff that they're gonna be careful with. So that's an opportunity for some other guys to move in and maybe make a play for some additional playing time or a key lineup spot as this thing goes on. But yeah, A&M's had a great run, but I think it ends today, and LSU takes it.
Mark, look, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you're a busy guy. You're doing these things all across the country. Enjoy your time in Hoover. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, take care, man.
All right, thank you. That was Mark Etheridge there of D1 Baseball. Look, we got one more segment coming up here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. As always, it is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Look, it is a drive-through seafood restaurant right here on Government Street. When you're thinking drive-through seafood, you're thinking, oh, I had so much bad experience with these other places. That's not it. Their catfish, it is seasoned to perfection. Their fried shrimp, really good as well. Also, how about going to a place that may have created a new dish? The Etouffee Smothered Pork Chop. That's right. They have a new ribeye pork chop, and they cover that bad boy with their homemade in-house crawfish etouffee. I gained 5 pounds just looking at a picture of this thing. It looks really good. Also, when you go to Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, just remember, your money is going to a good cause as well. They have donated over $7,000 worth of meal vouchers to local school teachers and staff this month alone. So get on out there, get you some good food for a great price, and it goes to a great cause. That is Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, your Friday sponsor here every single Friday on the Hunt Palmer Show. Got one more segment left. We're going to wrap it up, as always, with a little bit of take it or leave it. Got some good ones up for you. That's coming up next right here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Had a great visit with my friends over at LWCC earlier this week. We were talking about Acadian Companies, and they're an unbelievable champion of Louisiana. They were founded in 1971 by a duo who recognized that there needed to be some local emergency medical support, and Acadian quickly established itself as an early industry trailblazer. They're out there. You see the ambulances all the time. However, they do some other great things in the community. One is their Hometown Heroes initiatives that partners with local high schools to train and prepare students for a career as a licensed EMT. And that, one, provides high school students with a career path, which is phenomenal. And two, makes a difference in people's lives. They're saving lives. That's what makes Acadian a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, we want to tell their story. Go to lwcc.com/champions and check out all the champions that we've highlighted on this show, and then nominate a champion of Louisiana. Could be a nonprofit, could be a company, could be a person. We're happy to do it all, and LWCC gives us that opportunity. Acadian Companies is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So
in for live play-by-play of the SEC baseball tournament, starting with the quarterfinals Friday night at 6, then the semifinals Saturday at noon, and the championship game Sunday afternoon at 2, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Closing it out with a little bit of Luke Combs on this Memorial Day, because what's better than Luke Combs? Absolutely nothing. Great choice there, Casey. It's almost like someone else picked out that bump music for you. Look, as always, here on the Hunt Palmer Show, we wrap up every show with a little bit of take it or leave it, and we're going to do that right now. Mr. Jacob Beck, take it away.
All right, starting off here, Davante Adams recently stated publicly that he and the Raiders franchise do not see eye to eye on the direction of the franchise. Head coach Josh McDaniels said that Adams has earned the right to be critical due to what he's accomplished in his career. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm leaving this all day. Davante Adams has no right to call out his franchise publicly. And I get what Josh McDaniels is saying. He's an established player in the league. Not on the Las Vegas Raiders, he is not. I mean, what has he done? He's been there 1 year. Yeah, he had a good year, 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns. Don't call out your franchise, the team you collect your paycheck from publicly. You're not on the Green Bay Packers anymore. You are not a 10-year veteran of this franchise. I'm going to leave that probably as hard as I'm going to leave anything on this entire list.
All right, next one here. The Lakers were swept by the Nuggets, and LeBron James was being a little cryptic with his responses on next year. People are speculating he may be retiring. LeBron will retire from the NBA. Take it or leave it.
LeBron James plays for the Lakers? It's weird. You would think ESPN would cover that more than they do. Totally kidding. I have seen that ad nauseum. I'm leaving this. LeBron's not retiring from the NBA. He has made it very clear that he wants to play with his son, Bronny. Bronny's going to be a freshman at USC next year. Bron's got to hold on for 2 more years. Plus, a guy like LeBron James, he's a competitor. He's not going out getting swept for it. He's not going to go out like that. He'll be back next year. I believe it'll be with the Lakers as well. I don't think he's going to go to another team, but I'm leaving that. LeBron's not going anywhere.
The Dallas Cowboys have been fined the last 2 seasons for too much physicality during OTAs, so Mike McCarthy has decided to dial back intensity this year, being fined for too much contact. Take it or leave it.
I almost went the entire show without complaining about my beloved Dallas Cowboys. I'm leaving this. You're being fined 2 years in a row for too much physicality during OTAs. You know what a physical practice is? That's called football practice. And not only is that on its own just asinine, Mike McCarthy is actually the one that has to pay this fine because he's the head coach. They don't even penalize the franchise as a whole. We just saw the New England Patriots get penalized in OTA practice. Now you could potentially fine the Dallas Cowboys 3 years in a row for being too physical. Imagine taking football too serious and actually teaching these guys to, I don't know, open field tackle, which has been really bad across the league the last couple of years. I'm leaving this. This is ridiculous. And it's not just because it's the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, obviously I love the Cowboys, but this is ridiculous. You're going to penalize someone because they are hitting too hard at practice. I would hate for that guy to make $20 million a year. I would hate for him to actually have to work hard in the offseason, too. That's just asking way too much. I'm leaving that.
Yeah, and it's not even just the Cowboys. I think I saw the Patriots also are getting penalized for OTA issues. So it's pretty surprising to me that the NFL would do that. I just don't understand the whole OTA thing. Just let them practice. Like, if you're going to create all these strict restrictions that they have to do and they can't tackle, like, what's even the point? So, all right, last.
Yeah,
go ahead,
go ahead. You're good.
Okay, last one here. Memorial Day weekend. Take it or leave it.
I'm taking this, man. Memorial Day weekend is great. Not only are we saluting those that were in the military, but, I mean, don't want to toot my own horn, but thanks to me and the efforts of Mr. Matt Moscona, we are off on this Monday. You get a 3-day weekend. Most people are out. You're going to be in the pool, maybe a cold one in your hand, barbecuing. We barbecue every single year in my family, but my mom texted me last night. She wants us to do a little bit different this year. So Monday night, we're actually going to do a homemade taco bar at our house. Never done that on a Memorial Day, but I'm sure it'll be a good time nonetheless. We'll sit on the back deck. We'll eat some tacos. We'll have some laughs and have a good old time. I love Memorial Day. I love all holidays and family get-togethers. My family is not a big family. No aunts, no first cousins for this guy. So very, very small family. But the family I do have, we are all very close. I'm looking forward to spending some much-needed quality time with the fam. That's going to wrap up Take It or Leave It. Guys, it was an absolute blast sitting in for Hunt Palmer today on the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. A reminder that every Friday, the Hunt Palmer Show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp right here on Government Street at the corner of Government and North Foster. Get out there. Drive-through seafood restaurant, but it's got that Louisiana flair. Catfish seasoned to perfection. The shrimp really good as well. All their different sauces. The Cork sauce, very, very spicy, but very, very good. That's going to wrap it up for us today. I want to remind you, we are off on Monday. Hunt will be back on Tuesday, but he is actually out next Thursday. He has a personal matter he has to tend to. I will be sitting in again for Hunt this upcoming Thursday. So tune in, hang out with me then, and of course, be sure to catch Hunt when he comes back. All of us actually off on this Monday for that Memorial Day holiday. So everyone out there, have a nice, happy, safe weekend. Enjoy Memorial Day. Spend time with your family. Throw some burgers on the grill. Maybe grab you a couple cold ones in the pool. We'll be here when you get back on Tuesday. Wrapping things up here on the Friday edition. Tigers and Aggies just about to kick things off. Matt Musso in for Matt Moscona, wrapping it up here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is. The